Houston Texans versus Green Bay Packers. The Texans return to the practice field. It is the tale of two sides of the rock. CJ Stroud speaks. Plus, we got a lot to get into when it comes to the Texans. Two keys to the dub next.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the post.
Happy hump day. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I can't believe I just said happy hump day. I almost want to start this over, but I won't. It is hump day. The Texans were back on the practice field. We got some good news. We got some bad news. Also got two keys to a Texans dub on Sunday. In Green Bay, not keys, fobs. Nobody's really using keys anymore, but there's two things that I think are going to carry this squad. This isn't one of those like basic break down the keys to the game type of thing, but I do think there were two things. If the Texans are able to pull this off, I think there will be two things that stick out. Let's just though first talk about the practice observations for today. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. You can see me and hear me at night. You can also see me in the morning, the simulcast, SNL, Top Texans podcast right now, which you can get on all platforms. And we hope you join us every morning. Practice today was interesting. So there was good news. There was bad news. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball. There was good news. Laremy Tunsil practiced. Didn't anticipate Tunsil being out there, but Laremy Tunsil practiced on a Wednesday. Titus Howard was practicing. Kenyon Green was practicing. All the offensive linemen that had been banged up were practicing. Joe Mixon was out there. First time he's practiced on a Wednesday in a long, long time. So there's little doubt about that. Everyone outside of Nico Collins really out there for the Texans on the offensive side of the ball. So that's good news for the Texans. On that side of the rock. Now we have the defensive side of the rock. The defensive side of the rock, not good news. You had no Fatukasi, although I don't know how serious that is or isn't. You had no Henry To'oTo'o and no Azeez Al-Shire. So the two linebackers that have been doing the strong majority of the work for you, they weren't out there. And there was no Kamari Lassiter and there was no Jimmy Ward. So that's five starters that were not out there for you. Two in the secondary, one on the D-line, although I don't think that's like too concerning. And then two linebackers when you're really playing only two linebackers with Petrie factored in. So the defense is depleted. The offense minus Nico Collins is healthy. We did get to see Danico Autry out there. By the way, he looks like a massive SOB. On this D-line. Danico Autry, I talked about how I wanted to kind of see the get off the bus factor with him because there's limitations to how much we're allowed to observe at practice. He's he looks the part. I know Nick Caserio called him a badass. We're going to get a little bit more into that on SNL tomorrow. All of the personalities that have been brought in to this young core in the offseason. But Danico Autry looks the part. He looks like a guy that is ready to wreak havoc, I should say. Shout out to everyone for jumping on in the chat. If you have a question and it's worthy of coming to the forefront, we'll put it up. Super chats also go to the front. D. Grant asks, what's up, Landry? Will the Texans help the offense and defense during the trade deadline and waivers? I think so. I think a move's going to be made. I don't know what type of move. I think a running back is eventually going to be something that they're going to look into as a backup. I think the secondary they're open to. The NFL trade deadline used to be really, really inactive. I think we're getting to the point where it's a little bit more, active for sure. I don't know what Decole's talking about, folks. False information coming. No idea what that means. Let's put that user in timeout, whatever the hell that is. Folks, false information coming from us AOL screen name. Johnny Lambo says Mario Edwards out, Danico Autry in. We're good. Yeah. You would like to have both of them. The Fatukasi thing will be something to keep an eye on. But yeah, Primetime says that he doesn't think this is going to be a high scoring game. Let's bring up the line here with this. So BetUS, what do they have it at right now? They have it at Texans +3. So you can get 3 points. I think it might go up a half point. I think Green Bay is probably the popular bet. 47.5 is the over-under. I really have no feel for this game. Like I have no feel for this game. I think this might be more of a prop type of game. Buda Baker's a very popular name. I don't know whether I see them going after him or not. Not sure about all of that. Do you think we could go after Sartain? What's the price for that? Like, why would Denver trade him? How did that even start? I saw that on the internet streets a little bit, like in the For You section. How did Patrick Surtain rumors even start? Stingley's going to be eligible for the extension after this season. Surtain, he's expensive as hell as a corner. Like what's going on there? You have Kamari Lassiter. Kamari Lassiter's a rookie. He's done a good job. He's going to be cheap for the next 4 years. CJ Stroud's about to get paid. Will Anderson's going to get paid. Like what is the Patrick? Explain to me like the vision. Like give me a route or a path towards Patrick Surtain and what exactly that looks like. I don't understand where this is even coming from. At all. Jamal Hill, I don't know. I mean, I hope not. I mean, I would hope not. I would hope it doesn't come down to that. I think it's because Buda only has 1 year on his contract. Yeah, I mean, if you want to trade for a rental and you can get it cheap, and you think maybe he could be a long-term guy, why not? The Buda Baker thing he's a popular name. I have no problem with that. But I'm hearing the two things I've seen in the chat, and that's sometimes dangerous to use as a source. No disrespect to the chat. But sometimes you see some crazy stuff, and you just can't help but look at it. But I've seen like Nick Chubb. How does that work? He's just gonna come in and back up Mixon, and you saw how emotional he got in Cleveland. And then I've heard Surtain. Okay, how does that work? I don't think we have the draft capital to make those trades. What do you mean they got normal draft capital? What's that mean? I know we've been used to having multiple first-round picks to where you can be a little bit more aggressive on the trades. Shout out to Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. But yeah, I mean, you got normal draft capital. You traded the second for Stephon Diggs. Essentially, you traded back 19 spots for Stephon Diggs. It was basically a three-way trade. You got Minnesota's second, and then sent that to Buffalo. That was like a three-way trade where they knew what they were doing with that, but they have normal draft capital. I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah. The only way I could see, like, do you think Derek Stingley is not a long-term option? Like if you're trying to play chess and you say, okay, we can get Surtain, but again, what's the price? It's got to be high. But if you said that Derek Stingley is not, you don't want to pay Derek Stingley long-term, which I don't know why that would be the case. That's the only reason the Surtain thing is. I don't get that. Where that's even coming from. If we killed in the secondary this week, I say we make the trade. Oh, so if the secondary struggles, okay. Linebacker help. Christian Harris is eventually going to come back. So you have that. I don't know how serious the Azeez Al-Shaair injury is. That might be something to keep an eye on. He went back in the game. Toto will be fine. He's got a concussion. I wouldn't bet on him this week, but I think he'll be fine. So yeah, we'll see how that whole thing goes. I don't know what's going on with the Surtain stuff. I don't even know where it comes from. It just seems to be a popular thing. It's really weird. Sometimes you got to stay off the streets. But the big news today, defense depleted, offense not. I think there's two ingredients to the Texans winning this game on Sunday. Before we get into that, though, let's hear from the quarterback. Let's hear from C.J. Stroud. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. Let's hear from C.J. Stroud real quick.
Throughout this season, there's been like a lot of times where you've been able to like maneuver in the pocket and still be able to fire throws with velocity. Like, you know, the one to step on the first drive, we're able to maneuver, still get it out down to the sideline. What allowed you to consistently be able to make throws amidst chaos?
I would say, you know, just all the work I was able to put in with my trainers back in the off season down in LA. Also working with Clint here, who came from University of Texas, and he's my strength coach now, or one of our strength coaches. And man, just been able to like do some good movement stuff with him, get my core strong. So like, just the little things away from the field, I feel from like what you see on Sunday has been those little things just popping up now. So it's been cool to see it kind of pay off.
Excited for you going to Lambeau Field, playing there for the first time?
Yeah, for sure. You know, you dream as a kid to, you know, go play at this stadium, and it's a historical stadium. A lot of, you know, great games played in there, and, you know, to go for my first opportunity to be, you know, up there against a great team, you know, is going to be an honor, and I can't wait.
What's your relationship like with Jordan Love, and what do you think of him as a quarterback and everything about him?
Yeah, I think Jordan is a great dude. You know, I think he, you know, he's a great quarterback. He's definitely a friend of mine and somebody who, you know, I look up to. And I think the way he's handled his career has just been very professional, and, you know, just always has a good attitude, you know, waited his turn. And, you know, for him to be able to, you know, be able to play the way he's playing now, especially off of injury, I think it's just super dope.
You have done a really good job protecting the football, but also making these big chunk plays. We're aware of the Packers' takeaways. What's the foundation for you to protect the ball while also taking your shots and getting those chunk plays?
Yeah, I would say just execute and finish, you know, like execute our plays. I got to be accurate and, you know, really just, you know, understand that, you know, like this team is known to keep, you know, their defense. Their defense kind of keeps their team in the game by getting turnovers. And they do a great job of that, you know, especially on the back end. Got some really good DBs, and up front they play really well, and their backers are really solid. So, you know, another great challenge for me to try to be better with, you know, I feel like I've been kind of like a little sloppy, turn the ball over a little bit, but sometimes the ball doesn't roll your way, you know, but you got to take those shots, and you got to, you know, be aggressive to, you know, see what you can get away with and what you can't. So I don't regret any of the decisions I made, but I definitely know that, like, you know, you're putting yourself at risk. So I definitely know that this game I got to be very smart with the football and just, you know, take my shots when they come. But, you know, if they don't come, then, you know, just being smart with the football.
I know that you and Will have been close since draft night. How proud are you of him and the progress he continues to make and the accolades he's getting this week?
Man, I'm super proud of Will. You know, just the person he is, not only just on the field but off. You know, how encouraging he has been, not only in my life, but in just the locker room, and, you know, his family, and them just being so family-oriented, and, you know, always showing everybody love. You know, my mom are very close. So I just think it's super dope that, you know, he's able to, you know, get what he deserves on the field, and he doesn't see a double team every play, you know. So I definitely love the fact that, you know, he came up with a big game, and I know, you know, he has a lot more coming for him, and, you know, I definitely know that, you know, he continue to be great.
Go ahead, John. Oh, sorry. If I could piggyback off that, when did you realize, maybe during the offseason, that he could or was going to take the next step in his game?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, like, he's kind of like how I look at Nico. Like, he's always been great, but he just needed opportunities. You know, he did it in college, and, you know, did it in his rookie year, and so he just continues to get blessed with more opportunities. So I think he's just going to keep doing well, you know, as long as he gets his opportunities to do that. So I'm definitely just proud of him, and, you know, what he's been able to do. And
y'all are crazy with the injury talk, by the way.
CJ, you talked to us about
we are way off.
the season starting after week 5, and then you all go into New England and put up those type of numbers that you all did. Well, did you see any difference in practice leading up to
Why
that
is
game?
Surtain brought up? I have no idea. I don't know what's going on.
I would
It's
say
weird.
just like the comfortability of just like owning the offense, like ironing out some details, just really being like just hard on yourself, look yourself in the mirror, and to see what you can correct. And I feel like that's what we did the first 4 weeks. And it's not easy. A lot of times, as an offense, you're judged on your execution and your numbers and your stats. And really, I mean, for us, it's really just your win. So we've been good on that area, but we can always be better in those other areas. And it's going to be a consistent battle to get better at those things. But I definitely feel like we got better last week, and it's up to us to get better each and every day. And I think we took another step today as well.
What would you say is the biggest difference between winning on the road, like at Ohio State, and in the NFL? Like, what are the biggest differences to go in and win in a road game?
That's a good question. Honestly, I would say just winning on the road in college is more so like chaos and like just like dealing with like crazy fans and like just I don't know, just people just kind of like trying to throw you off a game. In the NFL, it's like the other team is trying to throw you off the game instead of necessarily like just like the crowd in their environment. And then in the NFL, it's kind of a little bit of both. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, I think it makes perfect sense. I think basically what he's saying, I think you have to think about where he came from. Like Ohio State, 99.9% of the time when they go on the road, they're going to be favored. So I think basically what he's saying is, from his point of view, there's a lot of extra stuff that goes on in college, and most of the time you beat yourself more than your opponent. But in the NFL, your opponent's usually like very close to being as good to you, like good as you. Like I would bet at Ohio State in their road games, they were 2 touchdown favorites, at least 60% of the time, 65% of the time, maybe in 2 possessions, like even way more than that. And there were a lot of extra shenanigans and a lot of craziness. But in the NFL, you just got to – the other team's good, and there's less of a circus.
I definitely feel like that was a big difference for me. Like, I feel like every game is like you playing against Georgia or like Penn State or, one of these top teams on the field. And then on top of that, you're playing against the Penn State crowd, but it's just the NFL, so everything's a little ramped up. But, yeah, I would say that's the difference.
It seems like you throughout the first 6 weeks, even dating back to last year, like you see the field really well. Not really a lot of times where you look confused. What is the biggest testament to that? Like, what allows you to always appear like you're seeing the game pretty well?
I mean, as you guys know, like just film. I watch a lot of film, so that definitely helps. And just, the ability to kind of, get the answers to the test before the test comes. So. I definitely know that.
Okay. I used to do that.
The defense can do things to try to throw you off, but like, the more that you're prepared for that, the better you'll go out there on Sunday and execute. So, I'm just really trying to be hard on myself about just finding little nuances and little hitches to get a hump over the defenders and the other team.
So one of the things that they said on the broadcast on Sunday is that you told him you were already confident, but having Stephon here and Joe Mixon, they kind of even up that for you. Like, yeah, you have what it takes. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, honestly, like last year, was super cool for me, and I'm not trying to harp on past things, but for me, it was just dope that I was able to play well so young, and so just like fresh, and really didn't know much about NFL life on the field or off. So just a lot of learning about that. But honestly, I would say when Steph and Joe came here, they were just like, man, like you got it, bro. Like you have what it takes. Because we've been around it, these past couple of years, being around Burrow and Josh Allen. So and they're not comparing me to those guys, I don't think, but they're just telling me like I have that aura, I have that that way I carry myself, And so I thought that was pretty cool because I never really heard that before, especially with 2 guys who've been around some really successful quarterbacks. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Going back to Jordan and how he had to sit, wait, learn, start, and then the route that you went, started from day one.
This question, like, what would the benefits have been sitting out? I don't need to hear that.
So, it's a long season, man. Like I know that we'll start connecting more, and I know that we'll start, really just, feeding off with each other. And, our chemistry is really high. So we just got to get back to that and, just go out there and have more fun.
All right.
CJ, a lot of people will look at the numbers
Thanks,
as far as
CJ.
offense is concerned, your passing yards, touchdowns, and things like that. But how happy are you that you all have been able to cut down some of those pre-snap penalties and been able to sustain drives?
It's huge, I think whenever we stay on the green or staying positive ahead of the sticks, man, it's hard for us to get off the field. It's one thing we've been trying to just be better at is just, not shooting ourselves in the foot. And I think last week we definitely took a step, especially in an away environment. It wasn't loud the whole game, but the beginning of it was. We were good with our silent operation, and it's going to be another environment to test us again. And, it's going to be a rocking crowd, and we can't wait. So we definitely just got to be smart and understand, the more we can stay above the sticks and help each other out, the better we'll be off to get a dub. All right, you guys. God bless.
All right, there you go. Thank you. God bless you too, my friend. That's CJ Stroud. Man, they love Jordan Love around here. I like Jordan Love too. I'm a big fan. I thought it was crazy. And I know Bills fans probably took it pretty interesting when DeMeco Ryans said that he would be the best quarterback that they faced up to this point. I don't know if that was a slip up. I don't know if he's just trying to overpraise Jordan Love. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to get his team's full attention. And that kind of traveled into from down the hallway in the locker room, not this locker room, that locker room, to the media room. But if I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, and quite frankly, I don't think Jordan Love's better than Josh Allen right now. I think he's good. I think he's put together a decent performance outside of Aaron Rodgers. But if you ask me who the best quarterback the Texans have faced, is Josh Allen. Now, I will say this, though, in DeMeco's defense as well. The other part about this is that Josh Allen was 9 of 30. He was ass against the Texans. So you're already judging what you saw from Josh Allen. But I thought that was interesting. They freaking love Josh Allen. I think there's kind of been some times where you can kind of read between the lines with DeMeco and tell that he doesn't necessarily respect the opposing quarterback. I know he respects everyone, but you can kind of read between the lines and say, all right, he's not like real high on this guy. But I think with Jordan Love, like they've gone over the top. And I know CJ and him have a little bit more history, but I mean, just the love that there is for Love is really, really, really high, to say the least. Maybe higher than I.
High-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets. Did you know what that was?
No, I
Me
do.
neither.
Back to the chat. Be sure to again. Hefe says Jim Nance and Tony Romo on the call. Can't wait to see Romo to hear Romo gush over CJ Stroud. I'm not excited for it. I'll be honest. The Texans right now are on like a perfect tier for my enjoyment whenever I'm observing road games instead of going to the home ones. I think that the second tier, quote, second tier, when it comes to status of CBS, I think it's way better than the top tier. And I know Jim Nance is a Houston legend and all that. And quite frankly, I think Tony Romo kind of holds him back a little bit. But if you gave me a choice between hearing Harlan or Eagle over Nance and Romo, I would be good with it. I'm much better with that. Tony Romo annoys the crap out of me. I think he's one of those guys who he's become further and further away from the league, and he's just become a bit that doesn't seem to follow the league as much. I don't think that Nance is really having as good of a time with Tony Romo as perhaps he was early on. So yeah, hearing Tony Romo gush about CJ Stroud doesn't really excite me. Super Bowl says he's burning one right now. Shout out to you, my friend. 3 tacos, 1 Coke. Damn, that's a good ass idea right there. He says like the video. I like that idea, but I'll just be honest. I'm not pumped about the idea of hearing Tony Romo talk. To be honest, I'm just not. It doesn't do anything for me at all. It is cool to be the game of the week on CBS, I guess, but not pumped about it. To be honest with you, at all. Mr. Right One. Since Schultz hasn't been playing well this season, we should trade the Bucs for Cade Otton. He's a better option than Schultz. I disagree. The Dalton Schultz thing is interesting to me because you hear CJ Stroud talk about how he's like another coach on the field. He talks about how today he said that he could see Dalton being an offensive coordinator, which I just couldn't see Dalton wanting to coach. I'm actually going to ask him about that tomorrow. He wasn't at his locker today during open locker room, but I'm going to have to ask him about if he would ever want to coach. I can't see him wanting to do that. But you hear CJ talk about the value. Dalton Schultz hasn't been explosive. There's been some moments on third down. There's been other times where they just haven't been able to connect. Early in the season, he was hurt. The body language of Dalton Schultz is never going to excite you. It's never going to fascinate you. There's times where he fails to make plays, and because of that, you assume that it was like a lack of effort. I think the one-handed attempt a couple of times. I think we've seen it a couple of times. We've seen it at one point down the seam. We saw it last week on the 5-yard out, and then in the end zone, some people thought that he should have given a better effort for the ball to hit the turf. I don't think that making a trade to upgrade for Dalton Schultz is really what this team needs. And I don't think Dalton Schultz has really been as bad as some people. Dalton's going to design video games. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense than coaching. But I don't think Dalton's been like is Dalton setting the league on fire? Or is he setting it off with the Texans? No, I don't think so. But I also think that we're kind of in a situation. It's a blessing, and I think it's good. I'm not going to sit here and say fans don't not. I'm not. I get it. But when you're 5-1 and you're playing pretty well, you're able to do the next man up thing. You're running away with your division. It's a lot easier to nitpick things like, okay, Dalton Schultz, who you don't even rely on, isn't producing the way that y'all want him to produce. And maybe not even to the level that he wants to produce. So you nitpick that. There's also, and all of y'all sound like the dude from King of the Hill every week when it comes to the offensive coordinator.
Damn it, Bobby.
Y'all just
Damn it, Bobby.
Y'all hate Bobby Slowick. Not all y'all. Some of y'all. So I do think there's an element of nitpicking, but no, I don't think Dalton Schultz needs to be like upgraded. He's vibing fine. Like they like the guy. Like he's not. He's vibing fine. They like Dalton Schultz. They respect Dalton Schultz. I'll be honest about that. There's no like unhappiness with Dalton Schultz. I think he's actually having a pretty damn good time. I don't think he likes talking to media. I know he doesn't like talking to media. I think that kind of goes back to the Dallas experience. But that's just not really his vibe. But he's fine. I'll holler at him tomorrow though about this whole thing. Someone says he hates to block. Yeah, I don't think blocking is like his strength, and he's having to do a lot more with Jordan. That's the other thing. Like Dalton Schultz is having to do a little bit more probably that now that Brevin Jordan's out, and they both have the same agent. So you're seeing him in motion, lead blocking, and a lot of other stuff. He's probably doing some stuff that they appreciate that is not necessarily something that's like appreciated, but we'll see how Dalton Schultz performs when he's called upon. Right now, they've kind of overcome it. I actually, like, if you think about it, with where the Texans are right now, being at 5-1, and we'll get to the two keys to Sunday, because I think there's two things that are going to carry this squad. So we'll get to that in a second. But if you really look at this Texans team and where they are right now at 5-1, and let's be honest, they could have easily lost 4 of the games that they won. There's only been one game where it wasn't close. And good teams find ways to win, yada, yada, yada. I'm not trying to take anything away from it. But the point I'm making is special teams could have easily cost them a couple games with some of the costly mistakes that have been made on special teams. I don't know that we've been able to point to a player and say, you know, if this guy would have stepped up, he would have played better, because the one loss was a complete assing in Minnesota, like just a complete and total assing in Minnesota.
Call like Minnesota. Call like Minnesota. Call like Minnesota.
But we'll see what happens, like when called upon. Like if you're going down the field to take the lead late in the game, like does Dalton Schultz not make the play, or does he kind of rise to the occasion? I think that's where it'll get, and that's where you kind of get past the nitpicking. But I wouldn't say Dalton Schultz has been awesome. I wouldn't say it's been awful. I don't think this team's really dependent on the tight end. Is Jeff Okudah alive? He's alive. I think we'll see Okudah eventually. Maybe not too long. For sure. But yeah, we'll see how that whole thing goes. I never seen Schultz block anyone. I mean, that's a little bit dramatic. That's a little bit dramatic. Any news on Stover? What kind of news are you looking for? How long does concussion protocol last? Man, I don't have like the exact time. I've seen guys play like a week after. I've seen some guys like take a couple of weeks. I don't think there's like a measurement for a concussion. I know it is definitely the most precise, in-depth process of returning to a football field. It's not like a hamstring or a soft tissue injury or an ankle where, you know, you can skip practice and go in the training room and try to get some work done on it and rest and all that type of stuff. You're basically at the mercy of whatever the hell they want you to do. So there's no real specific answer. I actually feel bad for these guys sometimes when there's time frames on their injuries. I think that's a little bit tough. There's no daily Christian Harris update because I don't think he's going to practice this week. So, and he's not going to practice this week. So there's no daily, like once he's not going to practice, they're just going to chill on that. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. 2 things, the Texans 2-piece recipe for the win in Green Bay. If I told you that 2 things, 2 units are gonna be the key to success for the Texans based on what the roster looks like right now, what we're seeing, what would you say those 2 things are? What would you say? Because I think it's very, very obvious what the 2 things are from my point of view. Number 1 is the offense. This is one of the games. You don't have Nico Collins. You got Joe Mixon. The offense. I mean, you just kind of gave Dameon Pierce a vote of confidence, right? We already know what Joe Mixon can do. We saw Tank Dell and CJ Stroud display the chemistry that they had last week. We know Stephon Diggs, battle-tested, seems to be available. Your offense outside of Nico Collins, which is a big piece, they're healthy. They're good to go. So the offense is going to have to carry the team. The defense is depleted, but not all of the defense is depleted, because ingredient number 2 to this recipe is the defensive line. Will Anderson Jr. with the 3 sacks. Danielle Hunter, he's been to Green Bay a few times. I know there's a lot of young guys talking about, I can't wait to see what Green Bay's like. Will Anderson's been there. Or not Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter's been there many a times. He actually said that they got a break not having to play when it's snowing and all that type of crap because the field can get kind of slippery. So you kind of got a break there with the schedule. But the D-line, when it comes to Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Danico Autry, Fatukasi, Settle, Heinisch, I think the D line can overcome a lot of these weaknesses in a lot of areas where this team is thin. So I think the two ingredients to the recipe for a dub in Green Bay are the offense and the D line. And the other thing about it is this, and I look at this linebacking core, and do I sit there? In a perfect world, would I want to see Hansen and Neville Hewitt as your starting linebackers are out there? No, hell no, absolutely not. But I actually think these guys are better than we may give them credit for. You might have your top three linebackers out. We already know Harris is out, Alshire, and To'o. But I think Hansen and Hewitt are pretty good reserve linebackers. Now, they're also big key special teams contributors, as is To'o. But I think they're solid. They can still get exposed. There's still going to be a lot of stuff that they're going to have to do that they probably haven't been asked to do for damn sure this year, maybe ever, in the case of Hansen, when it comes to being on the field and playing the amount of snaps that he could potentially be playing. But I don't think the linebackers are as terrible. I also want to see if D'Amico tries to get a little bit creative with the defense and what he may try to pull off when it comes to perhaps masking any potential weaknesses that this defense may have. So I think the chess match with D'Amico Ryans is nice, but the one good thing that you don't have to worry about is, while it might be kind of a chess match when it comes to all of the defense behind the D-line, the D-line itself it's pretty much there. It's not autopilot. You can still do some fun things with Autry, but you got Will Anderson coming off 3 sacks. You got Daniil Hunter coming off the strip sack with the experience in Green Bay, and you got your defensive tackles outside of Mario Edwards, who you feel pretty good about. So that's a good thing to have, and that can mask a lot of problems that you may or may not have. But Hansen and Hewitt are definitely going to have to step up. But I think this D-line, the D-line can travel. I mean, the D-line is going to travel from Houston to Green Bay. We saw it travel to New England last week. It's going to travel. And it's going to be a really, really, really interesting chess match or game inside a game to see how D'Amico Ryans handles this defense, if it's as depleted as it appears it's going to be. It's going to be a really big test. And look, if they lose this game and you fall to 5-2, it's not the end of the world. But if they win this game, we really got to intensify the discussion. Because if they're able to go to Green Bay and win this game against a really good team on the road with all of the injuries they have and all the stuff they're having to overcome, and we're talking about a 6-2 team, which, by the way, if they are 6-1, if they become a 6-1 team, let me put this in perspective, because it's kind of a fluid exercise that we keep doing to lay this out. 10 wins gets you in the playoffs. A lot of times 10 wins wins you this division. It damn sure looks like it's going to win the division this year. You got 4 games remaining against division opponents in arguably the worst division in football. If you win this game, if you go steal this game in Green Bay, and you show that you can go to Green Bay and win a game a couple weeks after beating Buffalo and making Josh Allen look like Davis Mills and all the other stuff that you've been able to overcome and not really playing your best ball yet, you can go 4-6 and match last season's win total. If they're able to go take this game in Green Bay, and would if you put a gun to my head, would I say they're going to do it? No, I mean, I think it's tough. I think this is a really tough game for them, tough matchup. So I would not bet on it. And quite frankly, I would probably say I would think Green Bay wins this game. Be honest with you. I think if I had to guess, I would say probably Green Bay. It's just one of those things where it's going to be tough. But we're kind of learning about this team too. You know, I mean, around here, like whenever the Astros are playing, they get the benefit of the doubt. Texans haven't earned the benefit of the doubt. They've damn sure shown that they're able to win games, for sure. So I think if they're able to win this game, we got to change the way we look at this team. Some people already consider them a contender. You go to Green Bay, damn, it's gonna be nuts. Yeah, I didn't mean to shoot slugs at Davis Mills. I was just trying to make a point. I was just trying to make a point. Maybe I should have said Brock Osweiler. I don't know. It seemed a little bit more topical, but only one time in Davis Mills' career, in starts has he completed had 9 completions like Allen did, and I think only one time he had less than 131 yards. So he was bad. I like Davis Mills, man. I like Davis Mills. Someone says bet the over. I don't know about that. I mean, maybe. It's always more fun to bet the over. But yeah, David Carr sucked. Can we stop saying he sucked, man? He was terrible. That guy was trash. He always I'm tired of people acting like David Carr was a victim. He was a joke. He would leave. He was the first one to leave the building. He wasn't the first one to get there. They got him an offensive line. He still sucked. He was coddled. He was babied. He sucked. He wasn't going to be good. He's not like some victim of an O-line. I argued this with McClain. David Carr is trash. It's good acting like he's like some sort of like folk hero of stuff going wrong for him. He's not like Archie Manning or something like that. Screw David Carr. I'm just not a fan. Something I saw in Green Bay, they're going to be rocking some interesting uniforms. They're actually pretty damn sick, if we're being honest. Now, it would suck if it were snowing and they were going to rock these, but they're going to rock the all whites. This is what Green Bay is going to rock. So you got to think the white glove rule is activated. Last time the Texans were going against the team in the whites, Laramie Tunsil was rocking the red gloves. Couple of holding penalties. Dare Gumbawale, holding penalty. Frank Ross said, hey, he was upset at himself for wearing the black gloves on the white jersey. So you got to think there's some sort of white glove rule here. Don't want to – you've kind of eliminated the penalties a little bit. Kind of want to trim those down a little bit. So let's activate the white glove rule. Got to get that. I think Laramie will be wearing the white gloves. Got to. I have Texans PTSD out of the next 4 games. Convinced me the Texans go 1-3 or 0-4. 1-3 or 0-4. So I mean, look, it's a tough stretch. It's a really, really tough stretch that they got ahead. They got ahead of them. 0-4 would be tough. I think they're too good to go 0-4. But I mean, 1-3, you would be talking about losing in Green Bay, which you're not favored to do, losing to Indianapolis, which you're going to be favored in that game. But there's a lot of familiarity there. It's a division game. Indianapolis would be trying to creep back in, especially if you lose to Green Bay. And the Jets game is one of the tougher ones of the season just because of the short week and the fact that that playing surface is what it is. So, yeah, I mean, 1-3, 0-4. I'm not. You can convince yourself, but I think they're a good squad. So we'll see how that whole thing goes. But they found ways to win. But I think this ended up being a much tougher stretch than we anticipated. So here's the convincing from Brandon. I think this is solid. Stroud. There you go. There's your convincing. Stroud. No 1-3, no 0-4, because of that. So we'll see how that whole thing goes. Offense ready to go. Defense kind of depleted. What does that look like tomorrow? It'll be a fun experience, and I'll take you along with me on it. Starting at 9:00, SNL, myself and Cody Stutz, and then we'll have the practice report, and we'll have the night stream tomorrow as well, and we should get a clearer picture of what this squad is going to look like. But I think it's going to be the offense. I think it's going to be the D-line. I think that's going to be the key to victory for the Texans. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. And yes, Always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Thanks for dropping by the locker room.
We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localized every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse.